Have you heard of the Atlanta Ripper? It is believed that Atlanta's first serial killer began his reign of terror in the early 1900s, during a time of high racial tension in the city. This killer methods copied the famed Jack the Ripper murdered at least 20 women, from prostitutes to working-class women and mothers. They were all young, African-American and mixed-race women, who were killed in a manner similar to London's Jack the Ripper. Most of the victims' throats slashed or had a debilitating head wound caused by a blunt object. The first victim is believed to be 23-year-old Maggie Brooke. Her body was discovered on October 3, 1910. She was a young black cook who died from a fractured skull. On January 22, 1911, the body of 35-year-old Rosa Trice was found not too far from her house. Her skull had been crushed, her throat slashed, and she had been stabbed in the jaw. Then there was an unidentified black woman, estimated to be around 25 years old, her skull crushed in the woods by the West Point Belt car line. The murders of Mary Bell Walker and Addie Watts soon followed in May and June of that year. The throats of both women had been slashed. One of the attacks happened down the street from one of the young ladies' employees' home. The employer heard the ruckus and screaming on the street. He ran outside to check and see what was going on. He found the young lady, but was not able to find the murderer, but did catch glimpse as the killer ran. There were also dead bodies found near railroad tracks. The death of 40-year-old Lena Sharp on July 1, 1911 resulted in the first eyewitness in the killings. Emma Lou went out to look for her mother, who had not returned from shopping, when she encountered a tall black man who told her, "Don't worry. I never hurt girls like you," before stabbing her in the back and running off. Her mother's body was later found nearby with her throat slashed. Pastor Henry Hugh Proctor of the First Congregational Church in Atlanta called all black leaders together to help find the killer, even suggesting that the police hire black detectives to investigate the crimes, believing they may be more likely to get black residents to talk with them. Sadie Holly, a laundry worker, was found nearly decapitated with a large fracture to her head in the dirt on July 11, 1911. This was the first innocent that made the front page of the Atlanta Constitution. It caused hysteria in the black community. Henry Huff was the last person to be seen arguing with Holly in a cab ride. They found blood on his trousers and scratches on his arm. He was later indicted by a grand jury, but the killings continued. Huff was later found not guilty and released. Mary Ann Duncan, 20, was found lying between railroad tracks with her throat slit on August 31, 2011. The bodies of Eva Florence, Minnie Wise and Mary Putnam were also found later that year. 18-year-old Mary Cates was found dead on April 8, 1912, with her throat slashed and her body mutilated with what appeared to be a surgical instrument, the Lexington, Kentucky. As time passes, more young black women were killed. Henry Brown was arrested on August of 1912 for Florence's murder after his wife told police that he had come home wearing bloody clothing on several Saturdays that coincided with the killings. He was later acquitted after a witness testified that he had been beaten during his police interrogation until he confessed. Until 1924, the bodies of slain black women were discovered around the city, having wounds to their heads or their throats slashed. In 1917, the body of Laura Blackwell was found in her home. She had been killed with an axe and her throat slashed. Her clothes had been destroyed in a fire. John Brown was arrested for the crime and was convicted in her death. Investigators believe he may have been responsible for the deaths of 3 other black women, who had been at least partially burned, but the killings didn't end there. It's unclear exactly how many victims may have been killed by the suspected serial killer, but police believe that there were at least 20 women. Many of the killings took place in the city's Old Fourth Ward, where there was limited lighting and a lack of streetcars, providing the killer with a cover of darkness as he selected his victims. As many as 6 men were arrested for the crimes, but investigators never discovered the identity of the killer. or killers, and despite having several suspects in custody. To this day, these murders still remain unsolved, and the Ripper's identity remains a hidden mystery.